So we've talked about units and unit testing, but the next level of that is this idea of integration testing. So with unit testing, we were testing the very small modules, the smallest pieces of software, and maybe we work through 100% of them. We work through 100% of all modules, and they're all working. However, that doesn't mean we are absent of bugs because the program could still have been built wrong. The communication could still not be working properly. There could be, for example, maybe there's 100 modules in here, and maybe there's 50 modules in here, and these two subsystems talk to something that has 60 modules, and so on and so forth. And maybe when all of these are communicating in this large architecture with the databases over here and maybe with a front end server or something over here, there's still bugs that arise. And so with that, we need to actually combine them. We've tested everything in isolation. It all is working fine in isolation, but now we need to start combining them together in this idea of integration testing. And with integration testing, we actually begin doing this sort of incremental or non-incremental. So we'll talk about incremental in the next lecture because that's actually a little bit more difficult. This idea of non-incremental is just sort of brute force testing the entire thing. So with non-incremental, maybe we have, again, those sort of large subsystem modules like this, and then maybe like a big controller or something class that calls these, and these calls little ones, and so on. It's a little bit of a complicated architecture. With integration testing non-incremental, we kind of just test the whole thing. We just run through giant tests. And this is actually the most common testing that people do, is whenever we build our product, we just test the entire product. We see what's wrong with the entire thing. So if we're building an app, we're not testing individual pages, we're just testing the whole thing as a whole. So we download it onto our phone and we just run through it and do common use cases. We do common things on the app and we see, do these common things break anything? Do these common things, is there something I can do to break it? And that again, that's like this non-incremental integration testing. We're testing the entire program as a whole. However, that doesn't usually show us some of the errors because maybe we do something and we get an error like at this module over here. Well, how do we know that that wasn't propagated by this, an error over here, and maybe an error back here, which propagates to an error over here? And again, this would happen if we have like tight coupling or low cohesion. But still, these things happen. And so if we're doing this entire integration testing, of course, with this, now we can actually, we do have a little bit of an advantage. We have a bug. We can identify the bug. However, it's a lot harder to fix the bug because all we have is the end result. All we have is the basically the fault, what actually happened here. But what we need is we need to test where it happened. And that's where this sort of incremental testing will come into play. It allows us to build on top of each other and then see, oh, whenever we add this module, we start getting errors up here, or we start getting errors, up here from an error down here. It allows us to pinpoint it just a little bit better. So in the next lecture, we're going to be talking about that, which is going to be the incremental testing.